welcome to FM Discussion. This is episode 338, and tonight we have Guro Mike, who's going to be talking about what he does, and really, most importantly, or I shouldn't say most importantly, but his teacher, the late great Greg Alland, and he's going to be basically speaking on him as well as how he's still repping his system and his legacy, so to speak. And also, he's got a demo for us. So if you got questions for him or something in particular you want to see, by all means, put it in the comment section. If you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. And without further ado, we are going to get started. Hey there. How you doing?
How's it going?
Good. Thanks for jumping on. So, it's
honored to be here.
We talked Tuesday, and there we go. We're doing it.
All right.
But we were trying to coordinate there for some time anyhow. So
yeah, we were. I think about almost a month and a half, just trying to get on the same page.
So I'm glad it's happening.
Yeah.
But you guys, it's awesome. Yeah, folks, if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. We got Sachi and Paul. All right.
Nice. Talked to Paul this morning. He's out in Chicago. What's up, Sachi?
Yeah,
Sachi's my bro. He's a good guy.
Yeah,
awesome guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Actually, he's probably. I'm hoping this is good. He's got to let me know, but hopefully we're doing something together in Connecticut. I just got to. He's got to stop doing this cooking show. So once he stops doing this cooking show, then yeah, he's a good guy. Matter of fact, bring some food up too.
Yes, please do. Yes.
So all right, so we. In your test run, we covered some stuff and all that. You started obviously at a early age, but Tom's watching from work. But so before did you do any martial arts training pre FMA? I mean, was there anything you did traditional as far as the arts or anything?
Technically, yes. So. I kind of mentioned before with our test run. So I'm from Missouri. I'm from a pretty small town, about 40,000 people, and I was one of those kids that I was always into martial arts in general. You know what I mean? I was watching the Shaw Brothers movies. I was watching samurai flicks. I mean, that was my thing. And then so I was that kid in the backyard who found a stick and it was a sword. All of a sudden, I'm swinging it around. So at one point, my parents kind of had this idea that maybe we should find him the real thing. So we found a karate school. It was an American Shotokan karate school in my hometown. So that was my first introduction to any real martial arts. So I started in their karate program, but that instructor, the owner of the school, who I mentioned before, was a student of Greg. So it was almost simultaneous. I mean, technically, I started the karate first, but literally within a week, I saw on the schedule, I saw Kali Silat Stick and Blade. And I thought, what is that? And took the class. They put a stick in my hand day one, and that's when I kind of knew, So the rest is history.
And this is going as far as year, like what year about?
Oh man, this would have been, god dang, like 2 months before my 15th birthday. Wow. I'm 33 now. My birthday is February 27th.
Okay. So 15, well, okay. So 18 years ago, I mean, or you're looking at 94 or something, right? No, 2000.
No, it would have been 2000s. It would have been early 2000s, yeah.
Yeah, that's still, that's good. Wow. So you only been there a week, so it's not like you could say, you could even compare and contrast the classical system to what you were doing. You know what I mean? Most folks that get on here, they had some pretty extensive training, and then they're able to, kind of, well, this is what I found and all that. But in your case, I mean, you were there doing that for a week, and then you jumped into the other stuff there. And so I'm guessing there weren't too many kids teenagers.
Yeah, so there were a couple kids who would kind of dabble in it. There was another kid I remember, Cody. He was a good kid. He was a couple years younger than me, and he kind of had a he did it for a little while, but I think as he got older, he kind of phased out of it. But for me, yeah, from day one, I did it constantly. So, at the end of the day, I was the youngest guy there for sure.
Wow, wow. So what, what really appealed to you is that punching and kicking? I mean, like, or the form. I mean, like, what is it that you weren't really interested in the other stuff you were doing? As far as the form, I'm guessing you have forms, but
Yeah, yeah. So the karate that we did was, like I said, the best way I can describe it was he kind of made his own thing. It was an Americanized Shotokan. So we had the basic Shotokan katas.
mm,
But we did a lot of kickboxing patterns.
yeah.
And later I realized a lot of his self defense, he's just sneaking in Kali and Silat. That's pretty much what our self defense practice was.
Oh, so he was
So
already playing in there. I got you.
yeah. So the more I trained, the more I realized he's pretty much just
Yeah.
sneaking that stuff in there more than people realize.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, when you say what appealed to me, I mean, just when I'm talking simple, you know, uh, glitter and shiny stuff, it was the stick. They put a weapon in my hand on day one, and that just for me, I thought was cool. I mean, that's it. I thought it was cool. I can't
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't I can't give any better explanation besides I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. That the
Yeah,
first
you're
week I
14 with
went,
adults and they put a stick in your hand. I mean,
yeah, of
it's
course, yeah,
empowering. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. And
yeah.
it's funny because there were, and because at the time when I was a kid, when I was a little kid, like I said, I was swinging sticks around in my backyard anyway. So
Yeah.
there were certain things that I had certain wrist coordination that was already kind
Mm,
of there. So like, oh, cool. Let's show you more. Let's show you more of this. And but of course, the thing that I loved about it is everything they showed me had a purpose. You know,
yeah.
so why do you twirl that way? And I don't have an answer. Well, this is why you do it. And that's one of the beauties of FMA is that good FMA, every single element of it has a purpose. Even a little twirl, even a little flick, everything has an application.
Okay.
Um, and so that was a big for me.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, I understand this guy. Was he officially under Greg? Like he was certified the whole bit, or was he
Yeah,
more? Okay, so he was good. Okay, he was
yeah, he
legit.
was.
Okay.
He was.
So did he kind of give you guys a system from scratch up, in its entirety, or?
He did, yeah. So he was certified under Greg, and so he had his normal karate program. He had a kickboxing class. He had a couple of things, but of course, usually at the end of the night, we had the Kali and Silat class. So that was in its form pure. So he was showing what Greg was showing us. Um, so yeah, so he was definitely official. He got rank of Mas Guro under Greg at one point as well. He was very good too. He's very good. I don't not quite sure where he is now. I think he moved to Texas. He's still in Texas for.
Mm,
I went to see him a couple times in Texas. We're talking 10 years ago, and as far as I know, he's still there.
okay,
But yeah, yeah.
good, good. So I mean, so did he kind of was it did he kind of he would stay on stick for a while, or was it kind of on any given night you might get a little of this, you might get a little of that? Did he separate the modules, so to speak, or?
Um, yes and no. I would say it would be more, as they say, family style. It was like what he felt like showing, you
Yeah.
know. So now, granted, from day one, what he did is basic 12 strikes. Or we'd also work on the abecedario, or also he would show me a couple of basic double stick strikes. And I kind of mentioned before in the test run too, with Greg's methods, footwork is very prominent. So the first like half hour of class, we just drilled footwork. We do triangles, variations of triangles,
Yeah.
partner drills the triangles, sidestepping, lanka and pot stepping, serrata steps. So that stuff was really drilled more for me just to kind of get the basics.
Right.
But kind of near the half end of class, we'd work on like a concept, like a certain disarm. If they do this, we can look at this and we kind of explore that.
Mm.
So, but I would say it was more just kind of whatever was on his mind.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I asked that because around that time, it seems like now you look at now, I mean, people are getting really dialed in far as structure
Hmm.
and syllabuses per se, but back then it was still pretty random. I mean, for the most
It
part,
was, it was, yeah.
um, I think SAOC is, I remember back then, like they had a really odd times, like it was really structured. And, but my first experience into it was random. You didn't know what you were getting and when you were getting it. I mean, it just
Yeah.
yeah. And so yeah, I was just curious on that. So did he kind of separate the Kali from the Sealot, or again, was it all kind of blended together?
Yes and no. So every once in a while, maybe once or twice a month, we'd have an actual CLOT class. But at that time, Greg really, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Sharpened what he was showing, what we call Sina Tershawali, his system. So at that time, really what he did is all of our stick work, all of our knife work, the CLOT was mixed in there. So when we'd ask what part is CLOT, he said, well, it's already in there. It's kind of all in there. So he 90% of the time merged everything. So my first instructor taught the same way. So all of the stick work, all of the knife work, how we moved, our footwork positioning, all that stuff had CLOT within it. But every once in a while, we would look at what is the actual pure CLOT. So kind of both.
Yeah. No, interesting.
Yeah.
So and so with your instructor there, your first one, like, so when he got, was it kind of a joint certification? So if you got the Kali aspect, did it also mean you got the CLOT aspect as well, as far as that, or was the CLOT, you got the CLOT that was kind of blended in there, if that makes sense?
So I guess Greg's system he calls Kali CLOT.
Uh-oh. Usually when that happens, there was an internet dysfunction and disconnect. Yeah, so hopefully he'll be coming back on. Can't be that serious because he got on pretty easy. So I'm thinking he might have hit the wrong button. Well, let's just see if he comes back here, which I'm guessing he will. But anyway, if you folks have any questions, what can I talk about anytime? Yes, as you folks can see, we're kicking off the quick bits. So basically, what the quick bits is that you send a mini video, and I'll finish that up here. Is
No, I didn't press anything.
So I'm guessing a button got hit or something.
My hands were in my lap. I don't know. It dropped.
Oh, I don't know either. Okay, that's stranger things have happened on here. So
okay, all right.
But I figured, I was just telling everybody, I figured you'd be getting back on pretty quick since you got on so easily. So I didn't think it was anything too serious. But just make sure I haven't missed any questions. It's been very interesting so far. First rule, we don't talk about the CLOT. Okay. Can you explain?
Yeah, I understand a bit of it. So I know that I've had a chance, which would be kind of fun to talk about at one point. I've had a chance to these last couple years connect with some of the older roots of Pikiti Tersha in New York City. So we're talking pre-Tri-V. So I've connected with a few guys who have been really awesome. They actually found me, as a matter of fact. And so to kind of answer that question, Leo Gahi back in the day GT Leo was, he was a genius. What he was showing was really amazing. And he did lots of CLOT. He and Eddie were very close. They were learning together lots of stuff and kept it very tight knit on what they did. And there was other CLOT material that GT was learning as well. So I think kind of to that point is that there's a lot more CLOT within PTK, even the modern PTK, that people realize. So it's not pure Filipino. Well, what is really, what is with the amazing melting pot that the Philippines is over history. So but really it's just, I think that's in a lot of the Filipino arts that you see with the right different influences, that the CLOT is everywhere within it. So
it's funny you mentioned that, because when I had Bill McGrath on, he alluded to, because many people think that, oh, well, Bill got, the CLOT from Eddie Joffrey, and the CLOT and Pikiti Tersha is from Eddie Joffrey. And Bill was saying, no, Guy had a lot of it already. You know what I mean? So I found that interesting. You know what I mean? And obviously, Eddie Joffrey complemented, and like you alluded to, worked together to further expand the CLOT in the system. But Two-on Bill was saying that it was already there in existence,
Yeah,
so.
from my understanding, yeah, Guy back in the day really liked Silat, so he already had it before he met Eddie.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like you said, the melting pot. I mean, that whole area, the trading and all that. I mean, Mindanao and so
Yeah,
forth.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so then, okay. So, you're, with your teacher and all that, and then I guess he's bringing Greg out occasionally, correct?
Yeah, so I remember this would have been like my first year doing it. At this time, Greg Alland arranged a tour of seminars for Grandmaster Jerson Nene Tortal.
Okay.
So most of you I know you know Dean, but for those who don't know, that's GT Leo's uncle of the Tortal family. So everybody knows the history, a legendary family, the Tortals. So
Mm.
he does a style called Dikiti with a D, Dikiti Tertia Seratus. So they at one point, as I understand, were one entity. They parted at one point. So at this time, like I said, I'm barely a year in. Greg arranged this tour of seminars across the states for Grandmaster Nene. Excuse me. So this is before I met Greg. I just know that the seminar is coming. So we were able to have a seminar with Nene in Missouri at my karate school at that time. So I showed up to class one night and saw this tall guy in his desert camo pants and a baseball cap just standing in the foyer. And I knew I recognized him from the videos that my teacher showed me. So, and he looked at me, and he's very, always very polite. How you doing? I'm doing great. So, and at this time, I was showing up to my karate class. So I'm there, standing in line, and I kept because I know I'd recognize him. So, my teacher at the time, Jason, said, "Hey, Mas Guro Greg, why don't you give a demo?" So Greg comes out and he starts doing his explosive silat, and never saw anything like it because Greg was so powerful, man, so powerful, just the way he moved. And at the time, I've never seen anything like it. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
just,
mean,
what is that?
yeah.
So he does that. They give him a stick. He starts moving as well. And at the time, that was the first impression I ever saw of Greg in person. So later that night, we did the actual Kali class, and so he's kind of just watching the class. And at the time, I'm a Cub man. I'm not good. I suck. I'm just trying to pick up what I can.
Mm.
And there was a guy, another student and I, we were working. He was bigger than I was. He was a teenager too, but he was really tall, much bigger. And we got the situation where I'd get one end of his stick and he'd get the end of mine, and we just play tug of war, right? Not very pretty, but we kept going to that same position every single time. So Greg came by and he says, "Hey guys, no fighting." So at the time, I didn't understand what he was trying to say. No fighting, it's martial arts. What do you mean we're fighting? So later he comes up and he says, "Okay, let's try to get that situation to happen again." So we do it again, and of course my sticks cross the room and I have no idea what happened. So he said he was trying to explain the mentality. So when you're fighting, you're buddy, right? So he says you don't fight with him, you're trying to end it. So in the Filipino arts, being a blade-based art, we're not trying to spar with somebody, we're trying to end it. And that was the first time that I ever heard that mentality. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's not the perfect mentality. Some people mystify that too much, and I'm not trying to do that. But that was a big opener for, don't be chasing the stick, don't be chasing the feet, don't be chasing the hand. Hit him. Your intention is to get to him no matter what it is. So, for me, it was like watching a kung fu master that I saw in a movie last night. It just at that time I've never seen anybody that fast before. So, but yeah, so that was my first introduction to him there. And then that weekend we did the seminar with Nene and his son Jerson Jr. Okay. So that was quite an experience as well. So that was my first 8-hour seminar too, and that was pretty hard. Never done anything like that. So
yeah, that's. I mean, if somebody told me 8 hours today, I'd be like, no. But yeah, it's funny. When I first met him, that whole slapping, I was like, that's the first thing that stood out when I was introduced him by Paul Ledney. That just the slapping the thighs and all that. I'm like, what the heck, man? This is different,
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was definitely somebody you noticed. Yeah, you know what I mean. So that's his first time and all that. So how often did he come? How often was your teacher bringing him out?
He was coming out, I'd say, maybe twice a year.
Twice a year. Okay. Right.
Yeah. Now, also, we went out to see him about twice a year because he had his training camps. And so I remember that, like I said, that seminar with Nene Tortal. Greg noticed me there, and we were working a bit together. And my teacher at the time too mentioned to Greg. I said, Greg, I think I'm going to bring this kid with me to the next training camp. And Greg's like, right, yeah, bring him. So, man, I was nervous, just trying to figure out what do I need and stuff and everything. And he's like, just go along, man. You'll have fun.
Yeah.
But that was about the frequency. So he came out to Missouri maybe twice a year. We went out there for his weekend, his 5-day training camps twice a year. So yeah.
And that's for everybody. And that's when he's Virginia Beach, correct?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Was it literally by the beach? I mean, was it?
Yeah, it was on the beach. It was on the beach. Yeah. So for me being a Midwesterner, that's always, pleasant.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, geez, wow. And
Yeah.
so I guess, not the age, that you were at, but look at your age when you started and looking back now, I suppose, what do you think? You told us a little about, Guru Greg, but I mean, like, what do you think, in your own words, made him unique? And we'll get to name his system, but first question is, what made him unique, you think?
You could write a book on that, of what made Greg unique. He was, in so many ways, and everybody can say this, and it kind of becomes cliche, but he truly was one of a kind. And I think what made him so unique, part of it was just his charisma, for one, how charismatic he was.
Yeah.
I know that I heard stories, like I said, talking to some of the guys, the more old school Bikini Tertia back in New York, where it was kind of Cobra Kai, Karate Kid, where people fighting each other. And I heard about, like, in the late 80s, early 90s, from some of these Bikini Tertia guys were saying back in the day, there was a time when a lot of people in New York couldn't take Greg. Greg was smacking him around. So Greg was a little hot-headed, I guess, when he was a little younger too. And but that's kind of what he did. Is if anybody had any questions, he'd say, well, let's fight. We'll figure it out. I mean, I've heard stories about, man, I'll have to tell you a story later about somebody pulling a knife on Greg, a live knife put into his throat during a seminar, and that stuff happened. That was not uncommon. So he was, for one, he could use it. Like he was not a hobbyist, as he'd say. He was a fighter. He fought with it. And the stories, this is pre-smartphone, so we don't have a lot of footage, but I mean, the stories I hear about them all the time. So I also think Greg's passion to share was so strong. And I know, as a matter of fact, from some of the sources that I've talked to, the older Bikini Tertia groups in New York, is that's kind of what started a bit of the rift between Greg and Leo at one point. Is Greg wanted to share this, that, he made his instructional tapes at one point. And at that time, Leo and Joffrey ran a very tight ship. So everything you did had to go through them. And Greg wanted to share and had charisma and loved to give these arts. He wasn't Filipino, so he loved to teach other Filipinos. A lot of times he taught other Filipinos for free because he says, this is your art and I want to give it to you. And I have lots of stories about that. So because he gave so much, that's, like I said, kind of created the rift a bit between him and Leo the first time. But I heard stories the first time he went up to California where, it was very Stockton heavy styles. You had your Kabbalah styles, and Greg came out there and did his thing, and nobody saw anything like it. And he was a bit of an outsider, but I mean, he went out there and he shared it, and that's what he
academy too with Guy. He did. I mean, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I believe in it was 1980. I think it was 1980. Yeah, it
was early. Yeah.
Yeah, before my time.
Yeah.
But he, I believe it was he and Greg and Tom Biggio who introduced Dan Santo to Leo Gahe. So they went out to some sort of convention in California, and at the time, Dan Santo had no idea what Bikini Tertia was. So Greg and Tom Biggio approached them and showed them a bit of what they did.
Interesting.
And I guess Dan said, I got to meet this Leo guy. Let me meet this guy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez. I didn't. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't. I don't. A lot of people too is. I forget the name, but there was, in regards to that New York group, which you had, Butch Atienza, Guy, Bill McGrath, some other folks that Chris Sayok,
Mm.
obviously Greg, but Greg was I forget the name of it, but there was an actual Filipino, because they had the place in New York where they would meet, which was the Filipino Club or something to that effect.
It might have been the was it the embassy maybe?
It was something, it's escaping me now, but it was definitely where they definitely congregated. And
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, I think Carl Antonetta told me like Greg was the treasurer. I mean, so they actually had like positions and everything. I mean, it was pretty structured and organized as far as the group. And I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the majority were PTTA practitioners, if I'm not mistaken. And that, but it just seems like it was a cohesive group, those guys,
Yeah, I think they were a really tight group.
Yeah.
And I think in that beginning back in the 70s, I mean nobody knew about it, you know. This is when nobody knew who Leo was. This was I think FMA was a budding martial art in the States. And these guys were just training hardcore all the time, you know.
Yeah, what he did for the East Coast, I mean, if you look at it, like what Guy did for the East Coast, I mean, I mean, if it wasn't for him, I'm not, particularly New York City, New Jersey, even some
Yeah.
overflow into Connecticut. I mean, he was pretty instrumental in the early days as far as FMA, in
Yeah.
the Northeast.
Yeah.
So, but so how did Greg come up with the name of the system that you guys currently use? Like, what was his thought there?
Okay, so the story, once again, the system was made the year I was born, so I had the
Oh,
story.
okay.
So in '89, Greg, like I said, Greg kind of always expressed the practice a bit in his own way. He moved a bit differently, and so Leo kind of had an idea what Greg was going to do, but Greg still approached Leo and said that he kind of wants to make his own thing.
Mm.
Um, and Leo said, "Yeah, you move differently. You don't move like the other guys, and that's okay. You're becoming your own thing, so you need to name it. Okay, it can't be Bikini Tertia now. It's got to be something else.
Mm.
Excuse me. It can't be Bikini Tertia now. It's got to be something else. So the name became Sina Tertia Wali. So it's pretty much the word Sinawali with the word Tertia in the middle. So now supposedly the joke is that Leo put him on a spot, make a name right now, and that's just what came to Greg's head. So,
Okay.
but that's how I understand the name of where that comes from. So
So
yeah.
with that name in mind, does the system necessarily stress double stick, or is it just a name he kind of came up with, or was he doing some special work in the double stick area?
Well, so what we've kind of done is we've kind of taken the term Sinawali for weaving to take multiple levels, right? So yes, we do. I mean, we do everything. We do double stick, single stick, long blade, short blade, knife, empty hand. We do it all. So what he found is tertia. Now, tertia, I know tertia, depending on certain dialects, have different meanings. I've heard people can say it means close quarters. I've heard it can mean to dig. I've heard it means to torque. Kind of a torquing energy.
Mm.
So Greg felt the weaving or the Sinawali took also a mindset. You know what I'm saying? So you look
Mm.
at a lot of FMA, everything that we do in FMA is either usually circles or figure eights. So
Okay.
the beauty that he found in that is because now our power generation and our speed and our positioning has no ending, has no end and no beginning. It's a constant. So when you have a problem in front of you, you weave through it. You can't stop and think about it because if you stop, especially with blades, you're dead. So
Yeah.
the idea is that you are constantly weaving in your thoughts, in your emotions, and in your body. So that's kind of where the term Sina Tertiwali started to take a bigger meaning for ourselves. That as long as you're putting in the work and you're practicing everything we talk about, footwork, body mechanics, how to strike, your positioning, that as long as you do that and you keep a weaving mindset, you'll make an answer. Okay. Even if you can't find the answer, you can create an answer. So yeah.
It's interesting how he came up with that. Just, huh? And matter of fact, Sachi just substantiated that. Yeah, it is to torque and along
In the
the.
logo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Interesting, because I always wonder about that. Like, I just assumed because he emphasized, or maybe his specialty was like stick or something.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Greg had some pretty awesome double stick. I met with there's a friend of mine that I actually met through Greg named Master Styles. And have you ever heard of Master Styles by any chance?
No, I have no.
Okay. So he's one of the very few that teaches the Moro fighting systems. So he's from Sulu. Honestly, some of the best long blade work I've ever seen. And I actually met him when I was 16 or 17. I flew out to one of Greg's training camps, and Greg brought him in. So I actually earlier this year I went to a gathering hosted by Master Ty Botting, and Master Style was there. And it's funny, we literally haven't seen each other in 16, 17 years.
So where does he live? Interesting.
What's up?
Where does he live?
Virginia Beach. Yeah,
I got to track this guy down and get him on, man. I mean, Moro, man, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. It's amazing stuff. So anyway, so we saw each other, and he recognized me immediately. So we started talking. But going to double stick, he said to me, he said Greg had the best double stick he's ever seen. And this is a guy from the Philippines. He said Greg had the best double stick I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's definitely saying something. I mean, wow. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, for him, the comfort, I mean, that's what I was always curious about. Like, was this his flavor or like his favorite module? I mean, that had something to do with it, right? I mean, for him.
Yeah, I think it took more of a like a philosophical standpoint. But with that said, Greg's double stick was no joke. It's one of those things. Anytime you move Sidawali with them, you were afraid. It's like you better make sure you're moving right. If not, you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I just remember just the seminars I done. This is, gosh, late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, like, I would have to potentially go in back of the room because he would just, and it wasn't, I wasn't being disrespectful. I generally really liked him. I really did. I couldn't stop cracking up though.
Yeah, he was such a character, man.
So I didn't want to come across disrespectful. So I would go in the back and just stand behind somebody because, he would get that accent or some of this stuff like this. And I couldn't contain myself. I had to go in the back.
The accents always came out. And it's funny because later talking to him, he would try to, like he would say, okay, this seminar, I'm going to try a German accent. Let's see if they notice. Like, that's what he did. Like, and it's just so hilarious. Yeah, so hilarious. And it was so funny because he was such a quirky guy, and I've talked to people before who didn't take him seriously at first. Yeah. Then they saw what he did. And they're like, hey,
you saw how he moved, right?
Yeah, you be as goofy as you need to, man. Go ahead.
Yeah,
yeah.
I gotta find it. God, I have one of his old DVDs, and just the screaming and all. I just can't, man. It just cracks me up. Like again, I generally really liked him. He was appealing in so many ways. You know what I mean? But
it was.
I'll be damned, man. I couldn't keep a straight face though.
No, it was. Seminars were never boring in every aspect you could think of. It was.
Jeez, man. So as far as your teacher and him, did they stress different things to you as far as the methodology and the approach there of it?
Not really. So Jason was his name, and no, Jason really stuck to it. I mean, like I said before, that was a bit of the beauty of what Greg did. Is Greg understood that we're all different people. So once you get to a certain point, he says, you should not be moving like me. You need to move like you. So Jason at one point was kind of, he did it in his own way, but it was still very much the same system. So maybe a couple tweaks here or there, but I can't say anything that was really drastically different. No. So.
Okay. No. So as far as, like your guys' journey and all that, like, what did Greg stress to you as far as like, as far as individuality or as far as, what should be important to you? I mean, was there anything he kind of stressed to you guys?
He stressed a lot of things. So Greg said it, which sometimes is very hard for beginners. And I know that's probably, it can kind of hurt, especially when you're trying to appeal to a mass audience. But one thing that he always stressed very, very strongly is that when you're learning actually how to fight with a system, it's not an activity, it's not aerobics, it's not, you're not getting tested on this, that if you're learning a combat art, there is no such thing as proper. There is no such thing as right or wrong. The only question is, does it work or does it not work? So everything he showed us, he made a very strong point. Do you understand why I'm showing this to you? A one's a one, man. An angle one or an angle two is the same thing. He always says the secret to any martial arts, everybody, all martial arts are really the same. He would say all martial arts are the same because we're trying to accomplish the same thing. Off balance our opponent, put him on the ground, finish if necessary. He said, if you really think about it, every martial art follows that same philosophy in combat. Off balance your opponent, put him on the ground, finish if necessary. The secret of how good you are at that is how you practice, right? Everybody's got 12 attacks. Everybody's got footwork. Everybody's got disarms. Everybody's got takedowns. The secret of what makes this guy better and this guy not as good is how they're practicing it.
Who put the time in, right?
Yeah, the time in and how they're actually working those things. So for Greg, that's why he said there's no such thing as proper. So from day one, we were effectively sparring. So the first thing he ever showed me, I'll grab a stick here, was a basic 1, right, and a 2. 1 and 2. So then we'd click sticks together, and I'd pass the gunting the hand and gunting the hand. So we'd learn how to pass the weapon in a motion in a basic drill. Okay. From there, we would learn how to counterattack. If they're trying to tap me, how can I protect my hand? Right. So he would take 30 minutes showing me that. Then he would say, okay, now try to take my weapon. And of course, for me, I'm like a teenager saying, what do you mean? I can't take your weapon. He's like, no, I want you to try. I want you to try and take my weapon. So it was competitive from the start because for him, it has to be worked with resistance. So every single one of our drills, like the term flow drill, I never heard that until in my 30s. I've never heard the term flow drill before because all of his drills were in a way kind of like rolling in jiu-jitsu. It was kind of a controlled sparring context. So, but that way you discovered, no right, no wrong. Are you protecting your weapon? Are you not getting hit? Are you hitting your opponent? So that was something that he drove hard all the time. Yeah. So that was probably one of the biggest ones. The second biggest one is he would always say, how else can you do it? Okay. And he left it open because once again, he wanted you to create with it because he felt you have to start finding different ways to do it. So, if you do the 12 attacks, can you run it backwards? Can you change the numbers? Hold it reverse grip, lay on your back, switch hands. Anything you want to do, there was no wrong answer to that as long as you were exploring different ways to do it. So in his mindset, that was what could separate you from the other person because maybe one guy had really good, strong techniques, but if you're working in a creative way, you're going to find things that guy can't do,
I like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And I remember him always saying, can I stop you? Can you stop me?
Can you stop me? Can I stop you? No matter what. That was all.
I know that, man, that saying, I was freaking, God, yeah, that's funny. So then at what point, I guess, were you always kind of under both of them or did you eventually make an eventual transition just under Greg?
I did. So I was, I think it was about 2012, I would say. That now at the time I worked with both of them, but 2012 I was Jason and I kind of parted ways. It's a long story, but we did kind of part ways. He kind of did his own thing, and for me, I found myself searching to kind of get better. I did take maybe not really a hiatus, but there was a time when I wasn't teaching really as much, and I did find myself, okay, I felt myself hungry for the next step for my training. So I sought Greg out. This is when he moved to Florida.
Okay.
So and by that time I went directly into Greg. So I flew out there. He just turned 70. And he and I we have a thing called Palit, which is pretty much it's all of our drills come together, which we start changing within those drills. Palit means to change, which eventually becomes sparring. That's how we do it. So, so he and I played that for a good 6 hours one day, and we just started playing and playing and playing. And that was kind of the realization for Greg that I started to get the system. And it was kind of on that. I spent a week with him, I think, and we were just really hanging out. It's just he and I, just training. And that was the time where he was really saying to me, Mike, get out there and share the stuff. But yeah, I think that was kind of the moment where I felt a bit of a passing of the torch, in a way.
Before his health got.
Yeah. I mean, I noticed then there was still some signs of it. He noticed a couple of times he was being kind of forgetful about certain things. He was at that time too, because we have a massive following in Brazil. So in Rio, Sao Paulo, the biggest Kali Silap presence was made by Greg. So Mas Guro Paulo, if you're watching, you guys, hope you guys are doing good. But they used to fly Greg out every year. They're a pretty big group. So there was a time before Greg's health got too bad that Greg wanted to take me with him. He says, "I want them to see you." We just never got around to it.
Are they still intact down there, Brazil?
I mean, I talk to the guys every once in a while. They follow me on social media, and I talk to their head instructor from time to time, and we're, at one point we'll make it happen, but they'd love to have me come out, so we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, now who, I guess, besides yourself, like who else is really, I guess, well, continue to represent Greg or continue his legacy? Who else?
So the only other one that I can say is Dennis Ocampo. Now, Dennis Ocampo was in Virginia Beach. He was a student of Greg's. He started in '95 with him. So Dennis is the guy that I will say is in writing Greg's successor. He's the guy that Greg put in writing in a letter that you will be the bearer of Senator Shawali when I'm gone. So I've known Dennis since I was 14 years old too. So he and I have always been in contact. So he's been more of an elder than a teacher, I guess, in a lot of ways. And of course, now we're kind of peers. So after Greg's passing, he and I, had a lot of long talks as far as what we wanted to do, what our plan is. And in fact, earlier this year, he flew out and helped me test a couple of my students to make them guru. And we sat up one night and just kind of talked about what our plans are. So we're trying to make a good, bright future for Greg's system.
Oh, good. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's what he would want.
Yeah. So now I know for me, because I'm the young gun, like, Dennis is a very private man. He doesn't do any social media. But I mean, he works 2 full-time jobs, but he's been teaching for 20 years. He does it all the time. He practices every day. So for me, I use social media. I have Facebook, I got a TikTok, I got Instagram. So that's kind of one of those things that I kind of took upon myself. Like, I know how to do this stuff, so why don't I start doing this? And that's kind of what I've been doing for almost 5 years, is just trying to share what I do,
Yeah.
So.
Well, hopefully you guys, I mean, hopefully you guys make it happen. You know what I mean? Besides, so, I mean, I know there's other folks that put some serious time with them, but I guess they never finished, or I guess, I don't know.
Yeah. So what I'll say about that too is that, Greg worked. I'm not going to say that Dennis and I are the only guys. So Greg worked with so many people, man. He worked with so many people, and so many people were touched and inspired by him. But a lot of what Greg did is because Greg was such a component of self-expression that many just assimilated what he showed them. And that's fine. That's fine. So what Dennis and I really talked about is, well, let's go ahead and teach the system. Yeah. So we have the system that Greg made. So others that we know of who are amazing martial artists and give lots of credit to Greg, they are amazing, but they more of assimilated what he showed them, integrated that into what they do without necessarily knowing the system that Greg showed. And Dennis and I at this moment are the only official guys with Greg's system. So like, if I sat there with anybody, I can show you exactly what Greg would have shown you.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So I guess, all right. So when did you actually start teaching it? Like, what, I guess, did you get, I'm guessing you got the first blessing from Jason?
First blessing was from Greg. as a matter of
Oh,
fact.
Greg, actually. Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So I was when I was still in Missouri, and I mean, I would assist with some classes here or there, but I
Mm.
remember for the first training camp, I flew out to Virginia and worked with Greg. And I think I mentioned it before with the test run. So yeah, I was the youngest guy there at this training camp. I mean, they're all
Yeah, I
adults.
know if you're a teen, I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was 15 or
Mm.
16, I think.
Yeah.
And I think for
I had to
Greg,
get a waiver signed by your parents.
yeah,
Just
yeah. My parents had to buy my plane ticket. You know, we had to like, I'm going with this adult, and he's going to be my, my guardian for this trip and everything. Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So,
times were different.
yeah, very different, very different. So, so I took the training camp there, and I remember, I think Greg was very delighted because he didn't have anybody, he didn't get anybody my age at his training camps before.
Oh yeah, if I saw somebody showing up as a teenager, yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Greg's quirkiness just turned on overdrive. So he was having fun with that. So
Yeah,
lots of good jokes. He'd even sometimes just sit next to me. We just start talking about stuff. He'd try to talk about life, because I think he felt like here's a child. Can I give
yeah,
give
can
more
I?
stories to
Yeah,
him? So
sure. Can I give
you
some
know,
valuable lessons, life lessons, or what have
yeah.
you?
So
So, at
sometimes
what age did he bless you with teaching?
that would have been that on that camp. So that camp, we were so the way Greg's training camps work is that you went out for is 5 or 6 days. It's 8 hours a
Mhm.
day. He's going to show you the system. Okay, so you trained with him before. You come on out. I'll show you the system. If I think you can teach it, I will give you a certificate that says instructor candidate. Now he won't make you a guru until you have students, because a teacher needs students. So you can't be a guru until you've got people that are learning from you.
Understood. Okay.
So he would give you this. Okay, you're able to be a guru. Go back to whatever state, country that you teach in. Okay, get students. Once you get students, you let me know. Then I will send you your guru certification. So at the end of the very first training camp I took with him, he approached me and he said, uh, in a nutshell, he said, "Mike, I can't in good conscience let you leave here with just that." So he made me assistant guru to Jason. So he says, "You're a guru, man. You're full fledged." So he says, "You have that title. Start getting your own students. Still under the eye of Jason, but
Right.
you
Okay.
got the blessing."
Wow.
Yeah,
Geez,
yeah.
that's awesome. So I guess so. You're going back there. So were your students kind of under the umbrella of Jason, outside the umbrella, or a little both?
Yeah, yeah. So Jason was still running his karate school. So a lot of times you got people who were already in the karate program getting interested
Hmm.
in that. We rarely ever got anybody who came in just for that. So because I mean we're talking the Midwest, so there's maybe
Yeah, I
three.
can't say, hey, sign me up for C-Lot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why it's so funny because throughout my life, and I've talked to people before that I do Filipino or Indonesian martial arts. Their first question is, "Where the hell did you learn that?" You're from Missouri. Where did you find that? And I said, "It's just
Yeah.
the odds are pretty crazy." But yeah, so anyway, most people were converts from his karate program. So if there was ever somebody who came in new, Jason would say, "Hey, he's yours," you know,
Oh, that was nice of
and
him. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, wow. So, to make sure I haven't missed any questions here,
yeah,
I'm a little off task.
no worries.
Watching the sidebar. Okay. Oh, Styles a lot. Okay, I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, heard of him. Yeah,
That's
heard of him.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard amazing things about that guy.
Oh yeah.
Try to get him on, but I guess he's kind of low key. What have you? Yeah. Oh, we got John Kuspis. Tony V. McGregor. Who's Tony V?
Oh, that's Durand. That's Tuhon Durand. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. So
Okay.
Tony's a good guy to talk about. If you want to talk about him right now.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So Tony, when Greg passed away in 2020, Dennis and I kind of wrote something to post. I believe we posted on FMA discussion here. We posted kind of an announcement when he passed. Got a lot of good outpour of support and good stories and condolences for Greg.
Mm-hmm.
So I posted a couple of videos of me moving, in honor of Greg. And Durand here hit me up on Facebook and he said, "Mike, you have the old stuff. You have the old stuff that Leo used to show." And he says, "And I can tell you work with Nene Total." And Now, for me, I'm just doing what Greg showed me, so I wasn't
Mm.
quite sure what he meant. I couldn't delineate. So Duran said, "Hey, can you call me?" So Duran and I talked. So Duran owns a school up in Maplewood, New Jersey. So he's two hone under Leo Gahi as well. So he let me know about his current colleague and teacher, Tony McGregor. Now, Tony McGregor is also a two hone as well. I like to call Tony McGregor the greatest two hone you've never heard of. Okay. Tony McGregor back in the 90s, from what he told me, was learning from a gentleman named Charles Vickers and who also had a student named Al Dennis, who were both learning from Greg and Leo Gahe. Now, Al
Okay.
Dennis was a prison guard, so he didn't do a lot of stick work. He did a lot of empty hand and knife work.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So Tony McGregor was young and was getting into this, and he wanted to start learning more stick. So then he got word, hey, you need to go find this guy Greg. So he goes and finds Greg Alland. So Tony told me stories that Greg would take Tony to Bacolod, where Nene and Leo are from. They'd go out there for like 6 months at a time and just train every single day. Nene would take them to all the village mountains or the mountain villages. So let's go see this master. Let's go see this master. So they realized Tony was really getting the stuff very strongly, and just got him to work with all these guys. So Tony spent a lot of time in the Philippines and with Greg. So his first stick learnings were from Greg. Um, not to mention all the Sealot. So I had a chance. They invited me to go up and meet Tony last year, and it's Tony's something else. Let me tell you. So uh, yeah. So if anybody ever has a chance to work with Tony McGregor, they should. So um,
Because yeah, that's awesome.
yep, there he is. There he is, right there. So
Okay, because
yeah.
Grant, I think he sent me a message like we've talked a little beforehand, but and all that. So it looks like he's coming on the show as well. So down the
Awesome.
road. So
Yeah.
yeah, that'd be nice.
But
But
it's
uh,
kind of neat talking to Tony because, like I said, Greg evolved so many things, and
mm,
Tony really has it the way it was shown. So for me, it's kind of neat because I'm able to kind of decrypt what I have. You know what I'm saying? Like
okay,
Tony was there for the 64 strikes, the Seguidas, the Abecedario, the all those things that I'm pretty much getting the evolution of. I'm able to kind of go to Tony and see where it came from. You know?
neat. Yeah, man, that's awesome. Wow, wow, wow. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess we get so fast tracked up to somewhat present day. Um, so you obviously have students now. I mean, are you kind of do you like have do you sublet have a school or mostly have your house? How's it?
So both I do it at my house here, but I also am teaching at a school nearby here. So I'm in Glen Burnie, Maryland at the moment. So it's a jiu-jitsu school called Noel Smith, and I actually rented the space to do a seminar a couple months ago. And
Okay.
the guy saw what I did. He's like, "You want to teach here?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So we just kind of worked out a deal. So I hold classes there every Thursday night, besides tonight, and every Sunday morning. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a good, a lot of places have a good supplemental because you're not really interfering with them.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Plus, it
yeah,
brings traffic. So what they got to lose, that's kind of what I do, or and all that. But it seems, a lot of people seem to do that. Seems to work, and plus the overhead is relatively low, of course.
yeah, yeah.
If you work out your house, it's really low.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's getting colder outside, so it's a little harder.
I know.
But
Come to
before I got
Connecticut.
a garage or outside, we just go outside and click sticks, So
Yeah, I know. It's just like, this weather, it's already.
right.
Um, so then, what do you? I guess what do you try and instill in your students present day? Like, do you kind of follow similar path as far as what Greg instilled in you, or have you adapted, made some changes?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say both, because
Okay.
that's what. Well, first of all, I mean, Greg. I mean, of course, I can say this being biased. He's been being my teacher, but I think Greg, in a lot of ways, taught me the way that anybody should be taught, which is
Mm,
where you get to a point to where you become your own teacher. So you're learning how to teach yourself. So I'm able to analyze myself and change things the way I feel I need to, the way I need to
okay.
evolve. So And Greg changed things all the time. I mean, by the end, by the last few years he was teaching, the 64 strikes were down to like 36 because he felt most
Oh,
of them you
interesting.
don't need
Okay.
them. You don't need them. He just cut them out because he wanted to. He didn't feel any use to it. We had 108 double stick strikes. He put it up to 188 because he found more stuff. So our material, his material changed all the time, but that was to him the beauty of it. You find your own way with that. So for me, yeah, there's things that I show that are things that Greg didn't show me, or things that I found. But my
Okay.
backbone is the system. So when I start somebody, I show them the system. You know,
Yeah.
and it still very much is in the philosophy of what Greg talked about.
Okay. Yeah. Good. No, good stuff. Um, so, all right, demo. I'm ready if you're ready.
Demo, cool,
Yeah.
awesome.
Sure.
Hey, also want to talk about too, real quick. So being in Glen Burnie,
Okay.
this is also, I didn't know this when I first moved here. But this is Bobby Ladra's area, Tuhon Bobby Ladra. Uh,
Oh, well, Paula moved, right? So
Yeah,
yeah.
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 So I remember when I first moved here, there's a street that I drive. It's like 8 minutes from here, and I saw the PTK logo. I'm like, that's interesting. And later I
Yeah.
find
Okay.
out that I moved to a PTK headquarters. So I remember when I first started teaching around here, I'm like, oh, I don't want to step on any toes or anything. But
Uh,
but what I want to say though is that when I started running into Bobby Ladra at certain seminars, conventions, gatherings.
mm,
And let me tell you, he's the biggest sweetheart you'll ever meet. He's been big open arms to me. He even talked to me about Greg. He has because Greg you like to use those big thick sticks, right? Use these giant sticks that Greg would always train with. So Bobby sent me a picture of two of these giant rattan sticks that were given to him by Greg back in the 90s.
wow.
So
Okay.
Greg at one point would have been the Lauder brothers senior at one point. So
Mm,
Apollo has been Bobby has been very, very open and respectful, and I have been to him as well. So we went to a recent gathering they had here in Maryland called the Katipunan, which is just a big convention for PTK. And
okay.
Bobby Lauder invited me over to introduce me to his students, and that was the first time anybody ever introduced me as Mas Guro. So I felt very, very honored and humbled by that. So, but anyway, so even though I'm in an area where there is a definite PTK presence, I love just how we're all sharing, man. It's been very, very peaceful, and there's no reason for there to be any awkwardness. So anyway, I wanted to put that out there. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, much respect to Tuhon Bobby Ladra. He's an awesome guy, and all of his students as well. Justin and Tom worked with him as well. My student now, Tom. So yeah, good
Okay.
group of guys. All righty.
All right. Whatever you want to show. I do
All right.
have a question. Oh, you know
Yeah,
what?
sure.
Yeah. Let me just. Okay. So this. Thank God I noticed this because if they don't send to me, I don't always see them. But I
Cool.
happen to be in FMA discussion time and happen to notice it. So this is I don't recall his last name, but it's from Robert. And his question is, on your test run, I noticed your strikes are more broken now. Is that due to your kind of your personal level and development, or something Greg instilled in you? That's
Mm.
kind of the question.
What's the last name on Robert there?
I can find out for you. There, I
I
tell you
think I
what.
know who
Let
that
me,
is. That's one of my old students back in.
actually, you know what? And I apologize. He did reference that. Yes.
Did he? Okay. Yeah. That's Robert. He was one of my first gurus that I made.
Okay.
So yeah, I meant to respond to him as well. So yeah, it's just a different expression. I mean, Greg talked about different ways to strike. So you can go fluid, you can go broken, you can thrust, punch, whatever it's going to be. So the 12 attacks it's a pathway. Excuse me, right? It's a pathway. So it doesn't matter how you do it. It's pretty much the direction you're doing it in.
Mhm.
So just when I did it for the demo, it's just a different way that I did it. It's always up to creation or whatever you feel in the moment. I mean, I was in a smaller room too, so I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah. You couldn't just be,
Yeah,
doing fluid 12 on the walls and closet doors or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. You can't really arc your strikes in a house, but I mean that's good training too, right? Can you still develop good power in a small space? So yeah, good deal.
Awesome. Yeah. That was it. Yeah. So so I didn't forget it, but he did reference that. He was your student. I think he referenced 10 or 12 years ago. I think.
Yeah, that was quite a while ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
He's
whatever
got,
you want to show. Yeah.
okay, cool. And Robert's got kind of a neat story because he's actually working with a HEMA group now, Historical European Martial Arts. And
All
so
right.
I guess
Okay.
they're pretty
Yeah.
enthralled with what he does. So that's been
Okay. Good.
yeah.
Awesome.
All right, cool. So like I said, Tom couldn't make it, so I'm going to do my best to kind of show a bit of what we do. But
Yeah, we'll have to talk about Tom on that.
yeah, we'll talk about you, Tom. Tom had to do something stupid like work,
Yeah, I know.
make money just to pay his bills,
So overrated,
I know, right? Who works nowadays? Okay. Good spot here. Looks good.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So
I can lower. I mean, actually, but you normally, I tell you what. Here, let's do this. It'll actually even give you more stage. There we
go. Cool. Okay. So, like I said before, technically STW would be people ask, is it Pikiti Tertia? It's always kind of a hard question to ask. So what I say is an evolution of it. Okay. So what you're going to see is going to be a lot of similarities. You're going to hear similar or identical terms, identical movements. We use some of the same material, but it's really how we do it. Okay. So in our system, the biggest proponent we think of is our footwork and how we move. Okay. So your feet move you out of the way. The essence of a lot of martial arts is how not to get hit, how to survive. Okay. So for us, our feet are everything. Our primary defense is how we move our body. All right. So even when we do our basic strikes, I'm going to show you our basic 12. Okay. And the basic 12 are from Jerson Nene Tortal. Okay. And even the way we do it is a bit different from how he taught it. Okay. So even in my basic positioning here, foot forward, back knee turns in. Even when I'm here, however my stick's going to be, my head's going to be to one side, this side or the other side. So we're big on proactivity is always better than being reactive. Okay, as I said before, right? So if you're reactive, you're going to risk the chance of playing catch up with somebody, and if they have skill, they're going to win that because now they can put you where they want you to be. Okay, so proactivity, you're going to have a better chance to control that chaos. All right. So when I'm here, I'm turning my body like this, chamber here. Now, first one, everybody's got a one down this way, swing through. When I strike, my body turns. My feet here, hips, knees, feet, turn. Okay? There's my one. Here, one. Okay? Two. Okay? 3, 4, and 5. 6. Long range hit in the center. 7, 8, 2 strikes. Strike down. 9, step in. Thrust. 10, thrust. 11, strike down. 12 is there. Okay? So even how I'm moving that there, my body is always shifting to one side or the other. I keep low for power generation. Okay? So the way I'm moving is accomplishing two very important things. I'm hitting very hard and I'm very hard to hit. Okay? Hope that kind of makes sense. So that kind of method stays in pretty much every single thing that we do. Every single thing. All right? And any questions, guys, let me know. All right, let me grab another stick here. There we go. So even with our Sinawali movements, how the body moves is extremely important for several things. Power generation and being hard to hit, okay? So we can all do our basic patterns, however that's going to be. Right? We all have those basic ideas like that, okay? But if I face you and I do a basic heaven and earth, right? I'm now going to move my head. So each stick is in front of my body, okay? So I turn. If I go over the head, I move the body, okay? Downward motions, convert. The body is always moving. Right? That's the idea. So everything's extremely tight. My stick is in my center, but my center is also always off to the side, one side or the other. All right? Hope that makes sense. Next, with our footwork, okay? So like I said, Greg would have us drill this stuff constantly, all right? Stick here. Let's see. Perfect. So everybody has this. Everybody's got triangles, right? Forward or reverse. Okay? So if I have a forward or a reverse triangle like this, the thing that Greg wanted to really emphasize is the body positioning that we do this in. Because everybody usually has a basic motion like this. Okay? They step and they step. Okay? Everybody's got that. So for us, when we step, we move, when we step back, we plant that foot, we take off. Okay? So for me, I'm a big stickler for biomechanics and body mechanics of how your positioning is. Okay? When I step here, I don't want to be square like this. I'm still turning my body. Okay? When I step back, okay, I don't go heels down. If I go heels down, I'm going to lose that propulsion. Okay? Think about sprinting. And that's what I want. So when I step back here, everything turns this direction. Shoulders, hips, knees, feet. Okay? So because the idea of that takeoff in the back, I have to do it fast. Okay? If I go this way, I got to cut back this way. If I'm on my heels or duck-footed, it's not going to be fast enough. Okay? So when I step back here, I got to turn. Here, turn. Here, turn, go. Turn, turn. Okay? So from there, it gives you that better takeoff, as they would say. Okay? So for me, I look at the basic things, figure out how can I enhance my mechanics to make it that much more effective. Okay? Next, we have power pivots within our triangle. So now when I step here, okay, I'm going to pivot. Okay? Look at that position I'm in here. Okay? Power, whatever it's going to be. Okay? Step back, here, pivot, back. Okay? Step here, turn, watch here. I'm going to step, pivot, 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 step, boom. That's how we did those triangles. All right? Cool. So if I go forward triangle here, similar idea. All right? Everybody can do this. Okay, everybody's got that. So now when I step in, I can bob and weave in and out. Okay, switch, pivot, switch, pivot. Okay, I can step across. Step in, step here, like that. Okay, so it gives you lots of variety for movement. Okay, so now your center line is always moving. Your head's either this way, this way, this way, this way, never in the center. Okay, so when I start moving that a certain way, when I step here, I've got my power, right? Stepping certain ways. Okay? However that's going to be. Make sense? If I move that away now, like this, okay? If I move that triangle, okay, certain pivots, I can start moving certain ways that I need to, right? Okay, whatever it's going to be, like that. Okay, so now those takeoff motions start coming out and we're creating with that now. Okay, so what Greg had us do is all of our patterns, once you learned them, you forgot them, right? You only use a piece of it. So now for my reverse triangle here, the takeoff motion like that, it's only a piece. Okay, so if I'm here moving, I can use that motion. Okay. So if I'm here, take off, switch. That's when we turn our hips to get to a better position, okay? Here, step, power, right? Here, step, turn, strike there. So, asking two questions in every position we're in. Can I hit hard and can I move from anywhere I'm at? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Any questions, guys?
No, not as of yet. What now when you reference power Power, is that kind of like the power takeoff? I think that's sometimes it was told to me, the power takeoff. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So when I turn my body like this, here, turn. Okay. So when I
Mm.
swing a 1 here, okay, my head's a little off center now. Okay. So here, when I strike 2, there, it's off center. Okay. So that turn also when I'm here, it forces me to play lower. Okay. Look at how, watch NFL, how they move. Okay. When those guys are on a field, they get really low so they can move a certain way. Okay. Our legs are no different. So when I move a certain way here, okay, the switch is easier. Okay. If I move this way, the switch is easier. The takeoff's there now. So by building that kind of sprinting position for us, okay, lots of propulsion. Okay. Now I know for certain, for some PTK methods, they say to have the heels down. For me, I'm just saying because I know that's not full PTK for what I'm doing, but those heels up help me move better. I feel more propulsion in how I move.
Oh, no argument here. Yeah. Well, I totally agree, or at least one up. I mean, I totally agree with you though. Yeah.
And the answer to why I do that is simply I don't want to be hit.
Yeah, I mean, I just think your mobility, you don't have a break on your feet. I mean, they're both up, ready to go. So no argument here. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Sure. So especially once blades come out. I mean, as we know, the great thing about blade training, and I've worked with some like MMA guys before who really liked adding some of this to their workouts, is blade training makes you extremely hypersensitive to touch. Because you look at Muay Thai or boxing, you guys can trade damage. You can take a hit and it's okay. Blades, you cannot, so it's a bit of a different perspective. So they would train some of my footwork sometimes, just a little bit of it, because now we train not to even be touched. Not that we can't avoid it completely, but we're trying our damnedest not to be able to be cut. So
no, for sure. Yeah,
so my position there too, when I'm here, I still want to have my knee over my toes.
Yeah.
That's target, okay? So when I move a certain way, it's harder to hit. I don't want to have it out there, okay? So everything is tighter, like this. Tighter, right? So even stance like that, sidestepping, however to move. So I keep that leg keep that knee over my toes and ready to move at any second for that very reason.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that as far as transitions. Yeah. Yeah, no argument here on that. Wow. Yeah. Like I said, we got Emmett, excellent material movement from
Appreciate
Emmett.
you, sir. Thank you. And guys, if you have any questions, let me know. In fact, I remember there's a friend of mine, Justin. He's one of Bobby Lodger's top students. He asked me earlier about showing some how I develop power in small spaces.
Sure.
Okay. Give me 1 second here. Hey, Seth.
Uh-oh.
Let me get my partner here real quick. All right.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I lost my partner. She ran off. So I'll kind of start first. So what you want to do with that, you're noticing your positioning is going to load you. It's like putting a bullet in the chamber, right?
Okay.
You think a lot about like Blintuak, right? The way they kind of load for power. Right?
Yeah.
Bobby Tabata.
Bobby Tabata, yeah.
Beautiful work because you're always in a position to fire one from the chamber. I look at this being very similar, okay? So when you're moving your triangles, okay, if I'm moving my triangles a certain way, even if I'm flowing a certain way, right, when I'm doing that, each time there's power. There's power in how I move. So flicking the hips there for certain power shots. So that's the Sinawali of the body too. So when I'm moving a certain way, my body's moving Sinawali as well. Right? So in those motions, you find that coiling bam for power. Okay? And the more you learn how to play that with that positioning, you can make it tighter and tighter and tighter.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, because it's good to have fast hands, right? And this works for a blade, right? But if I have a stick, I got to make sure it's going to do damage too, right? It's got to do damage. All right. Awesome. So when it comes to knife work, grab a couple knives here. Give me 1 second here. Let me pull this out.
Sure.
Cool. So when it comes to knife work, we work similar things. How to play as tight as possible, okay? So if I do those same 12 attacks with a knife in my hand, I'll go forward grip first, okay? I can slash or I can thrust. I keep my elbow pretty much glued to my body at all times, okay? So if she comes forward here, okay? I may not want this, okay? I want it closer, right? Make sense? So if I face you guys for a second, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I go reverse, same thing, super tight. Everything's very tight. My 1 doesn't have to chamber anymore. Okay, that's a long blade or a stick move. Okay, now it's tighter this way. Okay, so like a circle, in and out, very tight. Okay, so if she feeds me a 1, okay. The basic idea was to pass and cut. Everybody's got that. Okay, again, everybody's got that. So what I like to play with is with our positioning. If our positioning is really good, I may not want to risk, hold your knife out, 2 hands on 1, okay? Because sometimes when I do that, I'm giving up 2 weapons, potentially more, okay? When, if she throws a 1, with good positioning, I can avoid that cut. You see what I did there? So now, do it again. Boom, it's tighter, okay? Damn. Look at my head, cut again. Look where my head is, off her center. So she can still get me, but she has to reach for me, okay? If I stay, put your arm muted there, yep. Okay, if I stay, do it again. In that blender, she's gonna come right back and she's got me. Okay, step back. She does again, cut. Now I have an option, okay? So a bit of that space, a bit of that ranging, is going to give me a better shot to answer that extremely fast blade. All right? So now, too, if she aims for me here, got here, good. She's going for that. Okay, do it again. Now my footwork, okay? Do it again. Boom, boom, okay? So I can tap, cut, she answers, cut, and there. So I went at an angle. That was my triangle. My triangle was simply my slip, okay? Now when I'm here, now I can angle in. So simply with my body positioning, I got that same possible angle, okay? So for me, with our knife work, we try to play as close as possible, okay? If she comes in again, this is a blender. If we're doing the patty cake knife here, this is a blender. Someone's gonna die. So we try to look at our positioning that how can we minimize and control that as much as possible, okay? Now some of you have told me they don't like that I range with my knife. I mean, I'm gonna do what I feel is safest, okay? If she comes in, I'm gonna move, okay? Now before arm back, I can cut again, so I can get the arm back again, okay? Now, if this is a self-defense situation, I cut that arm, I'm gone. I don't want to fight her anyway. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So sometimes we'll work certain drills. So if I feed her, okay, this is how I would teach it. She can pass and cut, okay? Do it again, don't use that hand. Okay. Good, okay? Good, now she's got to move her body. Okay, good, like that, okay? So we'll work certain things like that. So by playing that certain way, we're learning how to keep other hands free. Why, like for example, why block a punch when I can slip it and strike? So I try to go for similar concepts. Does that make sense?
Awesome, yeah.
Okay. Blade comes in close, I keep it extremely close, okay? If I pass and cut, it comes here. If they want to touch out, I can start hitting there, like that. Okay, so it comes in here, boom, bang, I can get really close. So once I'm able to get a hold of them for a certain reason, if they want to go for it, they can. In fact, when I kind of play with some of my students or anybody that I kind of do like a competitive flow with, I'll pull it in wanting them to reach for it, because then I can use that. Okay, so the short motions like that is what I'm looking for. Okay, and as we know with blades, it doesn't take much. Go to Walmart, pocket knife. That alone is going to be pretty bad, pretty nasty.
That's for sure. It's a dangerous game.
Yep. Steph, I lost her. Okay. But yeah, that's a bit of the knife work. It's, we'll do like hubud, we'll do Sagong Lebo, we'll do certain passing drills, all those things that a lot of us already have. So the thing that I still always emphasize is just look at your body. Look at where your body's at. Start asking yourself the right questions. So a great thing that I brought up to Tom Chrysostom, my student, the other day is that I said, let's say we're doing a drill, okay? And I decided to go full force at any moment. Are you in a position to deal with it? And if you're not, then you're not moving properly. At any seconds this turns into a full balls to the wall fight. Are you ready for that in that position? So for us, we're always playing here or here, right? So if I'm up here, I can't move. If I'm in a bit of a better position, I can move. I can move anywhere. So we try to ask those proper questions at any time. So.
Definitely. I do got a question came in from Duran. Question: since you repin STW, what's your starting point for curriculum development?
Starting point?
Correct. Yeah. What's your starting point? Yeah.
Okay. So I'd say basic angles of attack. All I would show you is 1 through 4, because when you really think about it, really with what we do, there really are only 4 angles, aren't there? Upper, lower. It's a clock, right? It's a clock. So everything's going to come in one of those 4 quadrants. And so you work on how to deal with those. So, and sometimes when you think of it simply in your mind, it actually becomes a little easier to deal with. You're not thinking to yourself, what's he going to do? And it's like, it doesn't matter. He comes here, I go here. He comes here, I go here. It doesn't matter if it's a thrust or this or whatever it's going to be. So I work with the quadrants, right?
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, which we can all have, right? But how you turn your body, right, is your stick in front of you. I can do sidestepping, right? 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 is my body moving. Once they get that, what I'll start doing is I'll make them tighten it up, okay? So I'll have 2 partners do that. I'll give one a padded stick, and I'll say, do the same pattern, but try to hit their hand. If he's hitting your hand, you're not tight enough. Okay. So the line itself is protective or attacking if you do it correctly. Awesome. So do that, then I'll start drilling footwork, how to move.
Footwork after that. Okay.
Get used to moving as much as you possibly can. So,
yeah. Okay. All right. So kind of some follow-up questions here. Okay. If you had the time and you could do another FMA system, what system would you do?
Oof, man. Let me,
did you say KI?
I got to sit down for this one. Oh. Whew, man.
KI?
Do I have to give one?
KI? Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
You know what? I would love to see KI because I've never experienced it in person.
You know what it is? Most of the answers I don't ask this every episode, but I do. But I've been kind of keeping a tally. Most of the answers have been KI.
Really?
Yeah. For whatever reason, the mistake.
Do you think it could be? Do you think probably because it's got such a reputation, but it's not easy to find?
Yeah, definitely. As far as instructors, I tell you, I had a hell of a hard time finding anybody. Actually, I didn't find anybody. So yeah, that's true.
Could be part
definitely.
of it. Yeah. So no, I'd love to see some KI because I have never done it before. But I mean, the reputation precedes it for sure. I think more of the moral arts would be great.
You can't go wrong there, man.
You're not going to find talk about hard to find, especially finding the real stuff. The real Southern moral styles.
I guess that's what you have to first determine: is it real? Does the guy have a legit reputation? You know what I mean? Right.
Because there are still some awesome guys out there, but they really just had some moral techniques, but they didn't have the moral system.
They didn't get the whole or the whole package or what have you.
What else? I have massive respect. So Sachi's on here too. I have massive respect for Lightning Scientific
The
Arnis
Lightning.
because
That's yeah.
my nickname for their system is "Screw You and Your Block." So
Yeah.
because they hit so hard, man. That's their thing is I'm going to hit you as hard as possible.
Yeah, they just come flying in.
Yeah, but it's great. I mean, when I went up to Jersey with Tom, as a matter of fact, we spent an evening with Sachi, and he kind of gave us like a rundown of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've always had respect of it before I did it there, but yeah, same thing. He's, Sachi is such an eagle eye for positioning, your apex of power, the way you turn your body.
Yeah.
And so we kind of vibe in the same way because that's something that I worked on very, very much too, is that I make sure that I can hit hard with an effect. Yeah. And that's pretty much what they do from day one is can you hit? Really
hard? Definitely. Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you, I guess, future goals for you, system, legacy, I guess, whatever you want to throw underneath the umbrella?
Yeah, I think goals is I kind of always had a vision of it for quite a while is I'd love to see there be, Senator Shawali branches. I'd love to see that happen. I think it's definitely with what Greg has done and what, the work I've put in, I'd love to see that happen, especially, for Greg's legacy as well. But I think it's everybody who has experienced it through Greg or myself are always pretty enthralled with it. Like I've heard many times they'll say, I've never seen anybody move like you.
Yeah.
And that's just what I do, So I'd love to see at one point, which I'm currently working on as well, as how to create a good standardized system. But to start, getting some branches out there. If anybody wants to get certified, please let me know. I think you'd enjoy it. I'm not asking for, blind loyalty. I want to share it. I want to share what I do. And
yeah, it's the only way it's gonna. I mean, hopefully, you guys succeed in that. It's the only way it's gonna grow. I mean, as it is, I bring this up time to time, depending on the episode or the theme or what's currently being talked about. But there's some systems that are going to die out. That's just a fact. Yeah. That's really a shame when you think about that.
Yeah. To be honest, that's kind of why I started doing so much social media presence. Is because at one point I realized that there's nothing about Greg out there. There's nothing about him. And
what about Jacobs? Is he? But he wasn't. I know he did time with Greg Alland, but he's not a rep or anything, correct?
Jerry Jacobs.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah. No, Jerry's my bro. No, he's cool. So he I think is another great example. Excuse me. As somebody who worked with Greg a lot, we haven't met in person yet, Jerry and I. Jerry is an amazing martial artist. He's extremely skilled, more than most. But I don't know the extent of what Greg gave him. I don't know if he has what Dennis and I have decided to be the official Senator Shawali curriculum. I don't know if he has that. He probably does. I just don't know.
I don't know either. I know most of the time when I had him on seemed like it was with Dene.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I myself, but he referenced though that he did. I saw him quite a bit. So.
Sure.
Hey, what else? What besides any other? What about personal goals besides the system?
Personal goals? Well, I'm going to start filming a movie next weekend. So I've been getting into the film scene a bit myself. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Going to try a bit of acting, but I did help on it's kind of a funny story. About 3 years ago, I helped in a movie set for like a stunt coordination. So it's kind of a Western style movie. So there was a knife fight. So they brought me in because there were some kids who needed to know some fighting moves. I taught them some moves. And so they needed a stunt double to play this guy who gets killed by a knife. And that was kind of my first movie scene. But the funny story, though, was I'm arranging the scene. And so when we first started trying to choreograph the fight scene, this guy pulls a knife and I move a certain way. And the director says, no, don't, whatever that was, don't do that. Because this is a Western. Whatever that was, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so I had to like not be a martial artist in that moment and just like throw big haymakers.
Yeah.
Hey, who's here? Come here. I found this guy on the street here.
Hello.
Oh, who's that? Some straggler you found?
Yeah, some straggler. He looks pretty homeless, yeah. Maybe we'll try to feed him. Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, so like I had to like dial back my martial arts. I had to throw big haymakers. They tried to, knife me. I had to like do this big dramatic block. But yeah, that's something kind of a goal of mine is to kind of get more into that industry. And but yeah, and you know, maybe at one point with my teaching, it'd be kind of cool to support myself with that. But because it's what I do, man. It's what I've done forever. I've done this. I play guitar, and that's about what I do. So yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah. It's definitely well-rounded.
I try to be, man. Kind of one of those crazy things is you know, you look at like an engineer where they go to school for all these years and they devote their life and they can get out and get a pretty good job. But you know, you look at us FMA guys, we devote our life to the skill and it never pays. we're not gonna make millions.
Yeah, unless you got the only people that are making money is that, like, there's a few are doing. Matter of fact, we had a show on identifying just full-time FMA schools.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that the majority of their classes taught is FMA. Not, it doesn't have to be every single one, but the majority of classes taught is FMA. I think we identified in the low teens, but funny enough, the ones that were truly successful had a huge kids program. You know,
yeah, kids are where it's at.
So if you don't have kids, you're just doing this maybe to pay for your teaching or whatever, but nobody's getting rich on teaching just FMA. You know, not that I've come across anyhow. You know?
No. I mean, a great guy to talk to is possibly Dr. Tim Hartman.
Well, he is, in my opinion, Tim Hartman is the epitome as far as like a successful full-time FMA school.
Sure.
You know, he's up there. I think there's another one's up there, but if you look at what Tim does, the numbers and all that, he's probably he's absolutely in a, I would say, the top three, if not. Could be number one, but definitely.
For sure. Yeah. So if anybody, like, I'd like it maybe one point to pick his brain about that. You know, I met him earlier this year at one of Ty Bodding's gatherings. Was it last year?
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah.
I was invited to teach at one of Ty Bodding's things, December. Yeah, and he was there, so I kind of got to shake hands. And of course he knows who Greg was. You know, all the older guys do.
Yeah. Tim, he's been around a lot.
Yeah.
Ty and Tim are tight. So, but this has been awesome, man. I appreciate it. This has been great.
Of course.
Too bad Tom had to show up late, but
yeah. Tom, was there anything you want to add, man? You're here.
I don't know. You might want to like have him do some push-ups or something.
Well, besides being the UK and just getting my ass beat.
He lucked out today.
Yeah. For his tardiness, you might want to look at, like, I don't know, knuckle push-ups. He's got something. I don't know. What do you think?
Do some Filipino, some Kali push-ups. You know, get a stick and just do push-ups that way.
Yeah.
Look at me making all these suggestions from hundreds of miles away, huh?
Hey, please do.
Yeah. But I will say this. So, like, with SCW and everything like that, so, you know, with some of my background, I think I've shared with a whole bunch of people, but, you know, Bikini Tertia, Tri-V, Lightning Scientific, a little bit more modernist because I trained with Contal Cruzada under Maestro Richard Costa and at the time, Renchi Alex Guerrezo. And then also in PTK, I trained with Bobby Ladra and Apollo Ladra. So all these different things, it's a part of growth. So earlier, you know, I was kind of listening at work, but Mike talked about, make it your own. So not just learning forms and styles and just kind of mimic the instructor, but really make it your own so that way you grow as a martial artist and as a person. So when I started training with Mike, of course, Mike moved a lot differently than many others. So, you know, he mentioned it the other night on Tuesday, as far as the Serrata footwork, Tina Kaling, the Lankan Pot, a lot of that stuff really intrigued me because you see a lot of things in FMA as far as like the footwork, the patterns, you know, all those really cute diagrams. You're like, how does this make sense when you see like the little zigzag? How does that work? But then working with Mike and training with him and then seeing that in person, seeing it and then actually learning how to do that. Then working with guys like Tony McGregor and Duran, learning how to use a Tina Kaling, learning how to use all those different footwork that you see, you hear about, but actually seeing in practice and how those guys move is just, it's so smooth, but it's so effective as far as keeping yourself safe, but also giving yourself the opportunities to strike. So with those things and under Mike's tutelage, of course, I'm still training with Bobby Ladra, and I train with many other people. But learning to incorporate all these different things and to grow as an individual. So that I feel like in the spirit and the philosophy of Greg Alland, that's where it really shines. Is here's the curriculum, here's the format, here are the principles, but how do you do it? How else can you do it? How else can you grow? So it's not like you're saying that you're better than someone else. You're actually trying to say, how can I be better than I was? So you're always growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like being it, you want to be an individual, not coming down a conveyor belt, a bunch of robots,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I definitely resonates with me. I definitely agree with that. It's your journey. You know
Right.
what I mean? You're gonna try to replicate somebody else.
Yeah.
So, that's me. Yeah. So no argument here.
Cool.
But this is awesome. Appreciate it. And I'm
Yeah.
glad Tom was able to jump in at the end. That was nice.
Sure.
And
I think he finally ran away from work and
yeah. Hey, where'd he go?
Yeah, exactly. Some machine's on fire right now, I'm sure.
Yeah, right. Oh God, please don't say that.
But yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna download this, and what I'll do is I'll post it on your wall as well as I put up on the YouTube channel. So
awesome, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we're good to go. Yeah, I'm glad we made it happen. So.
Yeah, Dean, thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate this.
Oh yeah, no sweat.
It's great to be able to share. I've spent years doing this and years of it not being seen, And I mean, I'm not doing this to get famous. I'm not doing this to be some name, but I put in a lot of years knowing to be able to do what I do. And, I have had those experiences of people who didn't know who Greg was. They never heard the term Mas Guro before, to where because they didn't know who he was or heard that term, they just kind of ignored it. So I've had people kind of intentionally not respect that. And so it's been very humbling and heartwarming, with guys like Tom and yourself being able to have it be seen, seen and appreciated for the first time in my life. So
yeah, you deserve it, and he, of course, his legacy is deserved it, and so yeah, I mean, this was needed, so absolutely.
Gotcha.
But all right, man. Hey, take care, and hopefully one of these days we can run into each other. FMA invasion there, or that thing there with Ty, Tim, myself. So the goal is that we're kind of staying around Northeast, see how it goes. But the eventual goal is that we can actually make it, to other parts of the country. So hopefully hopefully work out. But one of the things was that area by you guys, because since Ty's from there,
yeah.
So that's a thought.
No, we should make it happen for sure. I hope so.
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
But all right, brother. Hey, be good.
Thanks so much. Thanks again.
All right. Take care.
All righty.
All right. That wraps up 338. Who is next? Tom Pena is doing episode 339, which is going to be Sunday night. And actually, I believe I'm not mistaken, it's going to be three. I think he's having three LeMaco guys on. I believe Roger, Heil, and somebody else, but all under Roger's lineage there as far as LeMaco is concerned. But he's having three on. So that should be interesting. That Heil's been on before and Guru Roger's been on before, but not all of them together. So that's going to be Sunday. At the time, Tom's going to be coming out the flyer pretty soon. So you guys will see an FMA discussion. What else? Also, we are taking donations for the Christmas raffle. If we raise money for if GMs need it over there, a couple do, and of course children. So if you have something that you would like to donate to be raffled, please let me know. We'll put a picture of it. We'll definitely credit you for donating it, and it's obviously going to a great cause. And so that's going on currently. We're currently accepting. Soon we'll have the flyer out as far as the ticket purchases on that. And generally speaking, in the past they were $10 a ticket. You know what I mean? But there's some really good items in there that you can win. Also, quick bits. That's the latest thing we're doing now. So basically, you send in a video. I mean, Google's the best way to do it. If you can send it to me, Google my email. which is marmax40 at AOL.com. And basically what we're doing is you do one thing. It could be a concept, technique, tactic, drill, but one theme. And again, 10 to 15 minutes, send it to me, and we'll make up a flyer, a thumbnail with your picture on it. We post it on the channel, and so far we put 2 up there so far, and they're doing incredibly well. Steve Grody and Brom Frank, in that order, and they are doing really well. So yeah, we're definitely going to be staying on this, as well as continue with the interviews and all that. But if it's something you want to do, you get yourself out there. People might like what they see, and who knows, you could get a student or something. So again, just PM me on Facebook Messenger if it's something you're interested in doing. All right, and we'll see you guys next time. Oh, if you haven't, join FMA discussion on YouTube. All their money goes to charity. Okay, you're helping us. You will be helping us give money to those in need. We do not keep any of the money. It all goes to charity. So FMA discussion on YouTube. All right, that'll help us. All right.